So we're going to go ahead and start. The word's been spread as best as possible for now with the flyers and things like that. And sometimes a few people come, and on a day like this, you might get 50 people, you might get 2 who come here like this. So I'm just going to open the circle with a water song, and then I'll introduce our brother here. And the intention is to, if you've seen the flyers, is to have a red cedar circle, it's called. Something that is begun by Wistimini, Johnny Moses, and his grandfather. Probably goes way back, that they would use that phrase for the spirit, for the medicine, given what these trees are like for the people. And so there's going to be songs and prayers and things like that, and then our brother's going to bring out some teachings. We'll just see how it goes. And Johnny's given permission for the filming to be able to pass on the learning and the teaching for the young ones and for the encouragement of everybody. So just start with a water song.
I'm very grateful to be here. I always share in the language from this land here. My mother's language. It's Samish, or it's Inamishtan. There are many different dialects of Samish, of the people. Every island had their own dialect, their own way of speaking. If you're listening, you get to say Inawit. That just means that you're not asleep yet. You're listening. But anyway, ni itiu shachanewet in konet elkal nistint kone thnetitlala kotenusus tutiwit inishti isas chnamishtan. Nia we halat, and I'm very grateful to be here. My brother here, I asked my brother if we could have a gathering here. I wanted to come and thank the ancestors, the Shewa list, and ask the ancestors, and thank the ancestors for my healing that I've received in my body. That's why we're having this gathering. Our older people used to say, it's good to go back to where your roots are from. Just back here, Madrona Point, my ancestors are buried here. I have a great-grandmother who's buried back there. Great-grandfather on my mother's side. And many, many relatives. So it makes me very happy to be here. And they're all watching over you. And it's nice to know there are loving people, people who care about the island, who live here. And we're going to begin with the singing. Singing and prayers. And that's an open circle. And so we'll share some of the songs so you can hear them. And please join us in the singing. Don't be afraid to sing. I brought some extra bells, if people can use bells. And if you have drums or rattlers, you're welcome to use them also. Or you clap your hands or snap your toes. Or just join in anytime. This is an open circle.
You could go ahead and get a couple of sticks or a couple of...
When the leaves begin to fall, that's when it's the beginning of winter. Fall, we call it the early winter. And when the leaves begin to fall, winter is here, when the leaves are on the ground, and that the spirits from the mountains are with us. So, and it's called The Blood of Mother Earth. It's a healing song. Please feel free to join in. It's a healing song. This next song is a song that our dear beloved elder, she's our last Sasiwas elder we have left. Her name is Pauline Hilaire Scala. She is my aunt, my grand aunt. And she's the last of our Sasiwas elders left. And ask for prayers for her and that her journey. And she had quite a few multiple strokes, and so she is, but she still continues on. This is a song she gave to the Red Cedar Circle. It's, "Oh cedar tree, clap your hands and sing with me. Way high, way high, way high, high, way high, way high." We sing, sing with me 3 times. Sometimes I'm just going to sing one verse each. Sing with me, dance with me, heal me. Sometimes it changes. And then we sing in the melody. So feel free to join in anytime. And I just like to remember our dear elder. She is also, her ancestors are, of course, from here. Oh, cedar tree, clap your hands and sing with me. Way aye, way aye, way aye, way aye, way aye, way aye, way aye. Oh, cedar tree, clap your hands and dance with me. Way aye, way aye, way aye, way aye, way aye, way aye, way aye. Oh, cedar tree, clap your hands and heal me. Way aye, way aye, way aye, hey aye, way aye, way aye, way aye. Oh, cedar tree, clap your hands and heal me. Way aye, way aye, way aye, hey aye, way aye, And that song, her father, Joseph Hilaire, I used to sing that song. And he was from Lummi, but he was a transplant. Of course, he was forced from Orcas Island. His father was forced from here when they used to force the people to go to the reservation. And so a lot of the Lummi people are Samish people that were forced by gunpoint to go to the reservation in 1850. They were forced from this island. And so that's how the people from this island ended up. Some of them hid and intermarried with the Norwegians and Swedes. So, and we still keep connected with all our relatives. But we're so grateful. I just wanted to ask a question for the ones who have to catch a boat. What time do you have to leave? Like 3:30. Oh, 3:30. What time is it now? 2 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's about what time?
20 till 3. Do you want to just...
maybe I'll tell us a couple stories so you can hear some stories. Yeah.
Do whatever teachings you wish.
Okay, I'll do some teachings and stories. So, and then they will take a little tiny break and then come back for more songs and teachings. Is that okay with people?
Oh no, we can't do it that way.
I will share some stories so that you can hear the language from this land here before you travel. It would be such a shame if you came to a spiritual, a traditional, the medicine from here, and not to hear the language and the songs, the beautiful songs. We are grateful to our grandmothers and grandfathers for keeping these things alive for us poor people. If you're listening in the Samish language, you would say Inawel. Inawel means we are listening. And we're not asleep yet. That's what it really means. We are listening, and I am listening, and I am not asleep yet. And so that's what that means when you say that. If you fall asleep, and the old people used to say, when you see someone with a hunchback, it's because they fell asleep listening to their grandmother's stories, and they stayed that way. And they got a hump on their back. We can hear that one. Nisut Kunishtahalan. I'll use the language from this place. You remember the name of the village? Or you can. How do you say it?
I can't say it at all. I went on that YouTube thing that you gave permission to do quite a while ago, but I haven't done it.
Oh, okay.
I can't do it yet.
There is a...
It's not a friend of mine yet.
Okay. Well, there were a couple villages, around this bay here. There's a lot of villages on this island at one time. But where we're at here... Not just
summer camps,
yes,
right?
Mm-hmm, yes, because everybody had, all our people had a village in each season, They had 4 villages, and so they moved. But people would rotate. Sometimes they would share their villages. Sometimes they wouldn't move, and the elders would stay. But anyway, that's another long story. But this area, this right where we're at, would be a short word would be Sininan, Sininanti. That's what this place where we're at right here, Sininanti, close to the dead people. Because our next Madrona is where we buried our people in trees, in canoes. Sininanti. But anyway, let's see. What story shall I share? In
1850, I didn't think there were any white people on Orcas Island.
Oh, yes.
Who had the guns?
Well, with the government. Oh, yes. But anyway, I'm glad we have someone from Lopez Island. That's people. Some of the people who refused to go to Lummi went to Lopez Island to hide. So Lopez was a place that was a refuge for Samish people. I'm going to share some stories that are the traditional stories that I heard as I was growing up. And this is a story we call the butterfly story. And it's a very interesting story. It tells about a people, their love that they have sometimes, or their passion. And you know, some people sometimes married in the ancient days for prestige or for power. In every culture you find that. And even in this area, there were people who wanted to marry in a certain class system. And they wanted to marry in a chieftain family. But this story tells us of a time where sometimes arranged marriages didn't work so well. But, you know, my grandparents, most of them all had arranged marriages, and they stayed married till the day they died. They never divorced. They stayed married. My grandparents were 65 years, the ones that raised me. I was very fortunate to be, and my grandmother and grandfather, they said they didn't love each other, but they learned to love each other. And it was a process. And they had patience, they took time, and the elders gave them no choice in those days. Because the respect of their elders and their people was so important. And a provider was very important. A provider was not just a provider of the family, but spiritually. And to provide for all the people, always be sharing. So they always looked for people who could provide for people. And I guess you'd say it was the Native American welfare system long ago, but everybody practiced the Native American welfare system. They all helped each other, because we had no belief of only one person owned the land or anything. We couldn't take it with us. We hear that old saying, you came to this world with nothing, and you leave this world with nothing. But if you leave this world with love in your heart, you've gained something. I always think that's a beautiful saying. My grandmother used to say that. And so this story is a story of the wild blackberry. And it's a beautiful story. Don't forget to say Inewel. Some of our people say Inewel. That's another way. Inewel. But if Inewel is the old way, Inewel. You feel air coming out of the side, and sometimes slobber. And you see us going like this when we're saying things. It's actually we're protecting ourselves from each other. And that people that are shooting out the spit on the side, we have a moisturous culture. Nishkuti iskale enum sutunu thunustiutet. Long ago, in the ancient days, there was a high-class woman. You know, Samish people were a matriarchal, matrilineal society. Ni'ithis, which means they had women chiefs, they had medicine women, and they had women warriors. Even the Spanish that came here could not conquer the people here because of the women warriors. Husta the neiti te connestel. Shuthist it canetlachanethenet ineston. And there was this woman chief. And it was very hard to be a chief because you had responsibility placed upon you before you were even born. And this was the system they had back then. You didn't even get to choose who you got to marry. And so in this story, Nithi Tishtit Kalawashan tells us of this high-class woman chief. She would play in the forest as a little girl, as she was growing, with this boy who came from a lower class family. He came from a slave family. Very poor slave family. Slave family in our culture meant lazy people. In our culture, a slave is a person who doesn't care about helping anybody else but themselves. They only think of me, myself, and I. That is the slave in the native way of thinking, in the old way. That's from long ago, my grandparents' time. And so she'd play with this little boy. They'd play together. And she was told not to associate and talk with lower class people, lazy people. In them days, the rules were strict. You could be punished and even banished from your family. So they hid and played secretly together, this little boy and little girl. The high-class girl and the slave boy. As time went on, they still played together. This high-class teenager girl and low-class slave teenager. As time came in our culture and the puberty ceremony, it was the custom of our people to go through the puberty ceremony, the change of life, transition, the death of a child, and to become alive as an adult. So this girl from the high-class family was very sad, for she was going to be forced to marry an old man. It was customary in our culture, upper-class people would marry off the girl to an old man. This was back in them days. They married it. The old aunties did this. It was the old aunties' fault, the grandmothers. They would have the young girl marry an old man. Because then they would not live very long. They would maybe have sex once or twice, whatever, and drop dead. That is called insurance. That like your Mutual of Omaha. This was the custom of our people. It's natural insurance. And so the young girl would naturally inherit all the old man's property and things that he owned and become even more wealthier. She was not a gold digger. It would be maybe salmon digger, maybe. Or clam digger. And I guess in our culture that would be, since we're coastal people, we're shellfish. And so, as time went on, she was so sad, just horrified. I have to marry just an ugly old man. She was just kind of revolted, disgusted. And so, and the custom, this, in the olden days, a slave person could not even touch the shadow of an upper class woman. To touch the shadow, that's the soul of the mind of the person. That is trespassing. And so that is how strict it was here among the Salish at one time. But this slave boy and high-class girl touched each other's shadow for a lifetime. So it was customary, the only time a slave person could touch the shadow of a high-class person is during the puberty ceremony, when they were bringing gifts to the woman chief to congratulate her in her marriage. And so people brought gifts, and there was a big marriage basket. This basket was a huge cedar root basket. And people brought many gifts, beautiful things, abalone and dentalium shells, many different crystals and all kinds of things. There she looked at all these material things. It did not bring her happiness. There came the slave, young man, running from the forest. He came and he approached the high-class woman chief. They used to play this game in the forest with white berries. These white berries used to be tuhuilastan, the wild blackberries we have today. Well, anyway, they played with these berries, and they would put all their love into the berries. Well, when this slave boy came, he opened his hand and he dropped the berries into the basket, the marriage basket. He ran back into the forest, knowing that he'd never be able to be with this high-class woman. The high-class woman came with great sorrow, but great love in her heart. She looked in the basket. And their tears were so strong of great pain and great love. As they touched the white berries, they became these beautiful wild blackberries. And the grandmothers and grandfathers tell us to this day that their love was still connected. Every time anyone eats the sweet, juicy blackberries, they're reminded of the great love they have for someone, but yet it has thorns of the great pain and suffering. And that is all. Oh. Nititu shuhuiti tnalantinastakutilalena. And such a beautiful story tells us of that how we can still be connected with the people that we love. Maybe we might never ever see them in body again, but we'll always see them in spirit. What time is it now?
3 o'clock.
Should we take a break then? Or do we have time for one more story? Or? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'll tell one more story and we'll take a little break. And so then you have time to, we don't want, I know what it is like running to the ferry. Ni itushkui itne itil kale ni sustut konatal ni shwaila ni kutal kalathanat. I don't only tell traditional stories, I tell contemporary stories that I've learned from the different elders. And I'm going to tell you one of my grandmother's favorite naughty stories. And she loved to tell naughty stories or nasty stories. And she was quite an amazing person, my grandmother, you know. I follow the Sasiwas medicine, but I also am a member of the Indian Shaker religion. And my grandmother was an Indian Shaker minister. We have women ministers, and an Indian Shaker religion is not the same religion as the Mother Ann Lee Shakers of the East Coast. Our Indian Shakers are not celibate, so there's lots of Indian Shakers. Well, very much alive. Okay, and I'll tell it in a different language so you can hear a different language. And I'll share it in the, let's see, in the Nootka language, Nutchanal. It's also Makah, speaks the same language. And they say, Keklel. Can you say Keklel? Yeah, or can you say Keklel? Keklel is the easier way. Keklel. A lot of our young people who say it that way too. Keklel. Or Keklel. Keklel is the old way. That just means we're listening, I think. That's what it really means. I'm listening, I think. It's the story of the homely, lonely lady. It's also known as Nootka language, or Nutchanal. And I'm using the dialect from Mears Island. Long ago there lived a homely, lonely lady. She was so homely and lonely. She went down into her basement. She had a really beautiful house. But she went down into the basement to get a little darkness. There was very dark in this basement. She would go there and drink her bottle. Well, she opened a bottle down there, but out of the bottle, out of the bottle, genie. A beautiful genie came out of the bottle. And the genie said, thank you for letting me out of that bottle. I've been living in there for centuries. "Oh my, a genie." And the genie said, "I will grant you 3 wishes." She says, "Oh my, okay." So the homely, lonely lady thought, gee, I always wanted to have lots and lots of tella, lots of money. I'd be wealthy. And the genie said, "Okay, sure, of course." Poof. Poof, you got lots of money. She was really wealthy. So you got second wish. "Oh gee, I wish I could be a world traveler. Wherever I would think of the place, then I'd just be there, because I hate riding on an airplane. I hate being on the boat, I get nauseated. But I just like to think of the place and I'd be there." Poof! There, her wish came true. Whatever place she thought of, she was there.
Oops.
And the genie said, "You got 1 more wish left, your 3rd wish. Now choose very carefully." Well, this homely, lonely lady, she had this, I don't know, I don't want to bring out my age, but, remember, some of you might remember, you might be from my time then. Remember the plastic covered couches? In them days, and then you go to someone's house, they offer you, the first thing they offer you, "You want a cigarette or a drink?" And then everybody, even the ones who didn't drink, everybody had plastic covered couches. Well, this homely, lonely lady had a plastic covered couch. And she had a white, fluffy cat. And the homely, lonely lady said to the genie, "Could you turn my cat into a handsome young man?" And the genie said, "Sure, of course." Poof! Meow. There, her wish came true. The homely, lonely lady got so excited. She ran up the stairs from the basement into the living room where the plastic-covered couch was. There on the plastic-covered couch where the white, fluffy cat used to lounge around was a handsome young man. But a handsome young man sticking to the plastic-covered couch. Ooh, she got so excited. She sat next to the handsome young man. And the handsome young man whispered sweet nothings in her ear. And he whispered in her ear again. And he said, "Aren't you sorry that you neutered me?" And that is all. My grandmother used to share that after church. I'd like to thank you for listening to these stories. And it was so wonderful. I was so fortunate to grow up with my grandmother and grandfather. They both lived to over 100 years old. And they raised me. I was the last one they raised 9 children, 9 of us. And I was one of the youngest ones growing up with them. And they were over 100 years old. And my grandfather, I'm named after my grandfather. His name was Johnny Moses. And my grandmother, she was Mary. Everybody called her Mally because in Nootka they don't have an R sound. In Lushootseed, they don't have an F sound. So when we cuss, we don't say, we don't use the F word. We say "uck you," or "yuck you," or "tuck you." But anyway, being a linguist, I always find those things interesting, so minute to other people. But I'm so grateful to my grandparents. And you know, my grandmother, she was such a loving person. She didn't know how to read and write. She wasn't educated in the white man's way. But she could speak French, the Francais, fluently. And in English was kind of broken. But her French was beautiful. And it was kind of hard to believe that she didn't know how to read and write. But she looked at all the signs and everything were like pictures to her. So that's how she got her. She used to drive a car. And my grandfather was highly educated. He had a degree. He was one of the first Nootka people to get a doctorate's degree in education. And he taught English. He taught white people how to speak their own language. And at the University of Victoria. And he was a very beautiful person. They were both beautiful people. And my grandmother, she didn't have she drove, she loved the car. Car came, she asked my grandfather, "Can I learn how to drive?" He said, "You can learn how to drive if you learn how to mechanic your own car." So she did. She's in the Model T time, you know. She fixed her own Model T and then Model A. Her favorite car she had when I was growing up was a 1961 Chevrolet Impala. She could mechanic her own car, everything. And she loved to speed, 80, 90 miles per hour. You know, those cars could go fast in those days. And she'd speed and she'd make this funny sound. Hi. Which meant when she made a funny sound, that we call it medicine sounds. Or some people might say a sigh, or you know, hi. So, oh, my spirit's talking to me. But she'd call her spirit power. My stew pigeon. Stew pigeon's telling me something, gossiping about somebody. Cops. Oh, stew pigeon says cops hiding a mile down the road, slow down. And during that time, she slowed down to 60, you know, that was, I think was 60, 65 miles per hour back then, in the 1960s. She slowed down, sure enough, there were the cops hiding behind them. And then she'd get a couple of miles and go back up to 80 or 90 miles per hour. And Grandpa said, "You better learn how to read and write. Get driver's license. Someday they're going to get caught. They'll throw away the keys, you'll be in jail." And she'd look at my grandpa, she said, "Well, you're so highly educated. You got a PhD, all these degrees. How come you got 5 traffic tickets and I don't have one?" And they would just laugh and laugh. They were such loving people. And I always like to end in sharing that the power of love is so important. No matter in our life, we could spend our whole life. What did we learn? What is my purpose? If you just learn how to love yourself, you've accomplished a lot. Or even if you're trying, that's all that matters. That's what my grandmother and my grandfather used to tell me. If you just learn to love yourself, even for it's just so beautiful, the beauty of our elders, what they have to pass on to us. And I encourage each and every one of you to love yourself. Don't give up on yourself. And there's so many beautiful things. So we'll take a little break, I guess, huh? And we'll come back and share some more teachings and maybe some songs and whatever. Mm-hmm. Oh.
It's a Thunderbird song. Quay, 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 Thank you, everybody.
Oh. This is a healing song. And people want to ring bells, or I guess we have bells, or there's extra bells too. If anybody would like, just help yourself. There's another one here somewhere. Oh, here's another one. Yeah, people are welcome to sing. Would you like it? Yeah. Okay. This is a healing song. This is from the Skagit tribe, Upper Skagit tribe. My dear beloved Auntie Vi Hilbert, this belonged to her father's people in the Skagit tribe, or also in them days they called it Skagit. Later, when the English came, they called it Skagit. Skagit Tau, it just means the people of the river. Oh, 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 And this next song we share with the Indian Shaker religion. It's been an and it has English words or translate into English from the native language. And the words are love one another, pray for one another, and forgive one another. My grandmother used to add maybe to the end sometimes. Love one another, love one another, love one another. Pray for one another, pray for one another, pray for one another. Forgive one another, forgive one another, forgive one another. That's one of the songs they sang. That remember that you will always will make my heart live. You will, in your heart will make my soul live. And your soul will make my mind live. And your mind will make my body live. That's what the meaning of that song is. Oh. I'm just so grateful for such a beautiful day. Aren't we so lucky? Someone must have talked to the sunshine. We're so lucky. Ni thit quishtachane ilathanastins utunuan. Ni lut kutinathanistan. Nushuhuila. I think I'll share a story that comes from here, that it comes from our family here, and it's about one of my ancestors, how she received her doctoring power. And if you're listening, just say Inawel or Inawel. Ni shuhui thinitit kunastachanalatan. Long ago, the people were sent out to the forests or the mountains or the rivers, the lakes, the ocean, wherever they were sent to, and they would follow their spirit, their individuality, their spirit help. And it would draw them to the place they were called to pray and to fast for a medicine help. Like today, now in the material world, we send our young people to college to get a degree so they could survive in our society. And in them days, going out for spirit questing was like going out to get a degree, a degree so you would live a long time and be able to provide for your family. Maybe you would get a spirit power to be a hunter or a fisherman, or maybe an Indian doctor, a healer, maybe some other kind of gift. There are many kinds of gifts. that people mastered at.